this did happen. The Christmas story is actually true. It is difficult to imagine the details of this long journey and the coming together of these three different kings and the way in which they actually calculated and knew that there was something going on in a specific place. Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich saw this beautiful scene and understood its meaning. The star became very bright when they reached the place, and in it could be seen something. It appears that it had a form very spectacular at that point for them. A child was seen in it or something of that nature, and he knew this was the exact spot. It was not actually what they had expected, as we can see in the way they went to officialdom, Herod, so-called the Great. Of course, the Lord protected them from going back to him. The Lord was in this. The Lord, in his humanity, accepted this in complete praise. It could have been some kind of Zoroastrian cult. But the Lord was not absent, as we see in the council documents, from the lives and hearts of these people of goodwill. Semina verbi, seeds of the word. And within the framework of that goodwill, he was free to operate, and he did. And on that basis, the Lord accepted this incomplete cult, but it was the best that they could do, and they did it to their best. There was even incense involved in the worship that they used. They would have prostrated themselves, Eastern style. And in our Catholic cult, we have maintained elements of Eastern style. They are more clinical than in the East, but they are still there. Bodily movement, incense, chant, the suggestion of otherness. And we need to recuperate this, our just heritage, and not think that we've grown out of it, as though they were infants who went before us and needed these things. When we jettison all these props, so-called, we are left with ourselves, and man meets man in the house of God and judges him by how good he performs his duty, how well he does what he does as a man, in entertaining, in innovating, in inventing, in making things interesting and spectacular. Whereas the advantage of ancient cult is that it does it for us very well. And we just relax and let ourselves be carried along by what is actually not just human. Isn't the devil clever? He hates the house of God, he hates the church of God, and he actually hates God himself. And so anything that he can find to make God not worship properly, he will use and indeed invent and push. And we know from exorcism that has been the pattern, especially in the years since the Second Vatican Council in the West. He has made sure that now, 60 years later, faith in the real presence has been greatly whittled away. And in Ireland at least, young people will talk of blessed bread and haven't really a clue. And so we see how the externals actually impact even on the internals. The soul of man doesn't realize what he is standing before in the house of God, and the proof is that he behaves in consequence. First thing he does coming into church is not to prostrate himself, but to start talking about the football to his neighbour, the weather, and all the important details of the daily. And then after going out of the house of God, it all begins. Where is God now in the house of God? We need a conversion. We need a refocusing. We need actually God. For if on a weekly basis we only have more of what we have in the week, we are impoverished human beings. And this day, a very ancient day, a very ancient feast, and universal over the whole Christian globe, is actually very oriental, and we might do well on it to pause and look to our brethren in the East, who, because of their separation from Rome, have not been able to change things. There are huge advantages of being all under Peter, and that is what we have to keep us together. But without him, the East didn't have means to change or evolve, and so what we see in the East is what we would have seen there 1,000 years ago, even 2,000 years ago. Unhurried and calm, God, unchanged, as awesome as ever he was. Let all mortal flesh keep silence, and with fear and trembling stand, under nothing earthly minded, for with blessing in his hand, Christ our God to us descend.